My mother demanded I cancel my wedding to spare my divorced sister's feelings, but when she tried to seduce my fiancé, and they both showed up uninvited on my wedding day, I hired security and police dragged them out while they screamed they'd destroy my marriage. I'm 30 years old, I work in digital marketing, and I need to tell this story because I still can't believe that my own mother and sister tried to ruin the most important day of my life. When I say ruin, I don't mean forgetting something or showing up late. I mean literally trying to cancel my wedding because, basically, my half-sister couldn't stand me being happy while she was going through a divorce. And yes, I know it sounds horrible, but wait until I tell you everything. I guess I should start from the beginning so you understand the full context of all this craziness. My mom remarried when I was like 12, after my dad died in a car accident when I was 8. She met Robert, who's actually a good guy, truth be told. I have no complaints about him, and well, they got married and had Jade when I was about 14. Since Jade was born, things changed quite a bit at home. You know, because obviously all the attention went to the new baby, which is normal, I guess. But it never went back to how I was before. My mom was always more protective of Jade, more indulgent, and I just assumed it was because Jade was both of their daughter, while I was only my dad's daughter, not Robert's. Not that Robert treated me badly, not at all, but there was definitely a difference. Jade was always the spoiled child, the one who got everything she wanted. If I had a new dress, Jade needed 2. If I had a birthday party with 15 friends, Jade needed one with 30. It was exhausting, honestly. But I never said anything because I didn't want to cause problems. My mom always told me I was the oldest, that I had to be understanding, that Jade was just a child, you know, all those excuses. I grew up being the responsible sister, the one who never caused drama, the one who always gave in to keep family peace. I met Ethan when I was 24, at one of those super boring work conferences where nobody wants to be. He worked in software development, and we sat together at one of the lunch tables because there literally weren't any other seats. We started talking, and it turned out we had so much in common, like the same weird musical tastes. We both hated superhero movies. You know, we're weird. And we were both coffee addicts. We became friends first, then started dating, and basically it's been the healthiest and most stable relationship I've had in my life. Ethan is 31 now, he's considerate, makes me laugh, and most importantly, he supports me in everything. We'd been together for like 6 years when he finally decided to propose. It was last March. He did it super simple but perfect for us. It wasn't anything extravagant. We just went to our favorite restaurant, that Italian place that has the best pasta in the world. And after dinner, he took me to the park where we had our first real date. There he pulled out the ring and proposed. And obviously I said yes, because I'd been waiting for that moment for like 2 years. I'm not gonna lie. I was super excited. Like I called my mom from the car, on the way home to tell her, thinking she was going to be just as excited as I was. And that's where it all started. I mean, I should have seen it coming, but I was too happy to notice. My mom said congratulations, but then immediately added, "And how do you think Jade is going to feel about this?" And I was like, "What?" Because Jade was 24 years old, she wasn't a child. And besides, what did she have to do with my engagement? My mom explained that Jade had been dating this guy, Brandon, for like 3 months, and that she was hoping he would propose soon. So, my engagement was going to make her feel bad. I remember telling my mom that didn't make sense, that Jade barely knew that guy, but she just said I should be more considerate of my sister's feelings. That conversation left a bitter taste. But I tried to ignore it because I wasn't going to let anything ruin my happiness. Ethan and I decided to get married in January of the following year, meaning this year. We wanted to give everyone time to plan, save, ask for days off work, all that. We started planning the wedding, something nice but not too big, like 120 guests, at a beautiful venue that had gardens and everything. I hired Nicole, my best friend from college, as my maid of honor, and I was super excited about the whole process. Of course, I invited Jade to be one of my bridesmaids too, because, well, she's my sister, and I thought maybe this would bring us closer, you know, do sister things. But then, and this is where things get truly crazy, Jade announces in May that she's also getting married. To Brandon, the guy she'd been dating for 3 months. 3 months. Everyone in the family was like, "What?" But my mom acted as if it was the most wonderful news in the world. I tried to be happy for her. I really did. But something didn't feel right. Jade had always been impulsive, like the time she bought a new car without telling anyone and then couldn't pay for it, or when she went on a trip to Europe for 2 weeks when she had an important exam. But getting married this quickly was another level. And not only that, Jade announced her wedding would be in July. July. 2 months later. She organized everything super fast. Like she chose the dress in a week, booked a place, sent invitations, everything at lightning speed. And my mom was there supporting her in everything, helping her with every detail, paying for half of everything because, according to her, Jade needed to have her dream wedding. Meanwhile, when I asked my mom her opinion about something for my wedding, she was always busy or distracted with Jade's plans. Jade's wedding was exactly what you'd expect from a wedding organized in 2 months. Pretty. Yes. But there were so many things you could tell were done in a rush. The DJ played horrible music. The food was cold. And Brandon got so drunk they had to take him to the hotel room before the first dance. But my mom acted like it was the wedding of the century. I went, smiled, congratulated Jade and left early because honestly everything felt very uncomfortable. And then, in July, like 2 months after the wedding, Jade gets divorced. Turns out Brandon cheated on her with her best friend, some girl named Ashley, who had been her maid of honor. She found out because, and this is so predictable it's almost funny, she found messages on Brandon's phone. Messages that, according to Jade, had started even before the wedding. I mean, the guy literally married her while he was sleeping with her best friend. It's horrible. I know. And yes, I felt bad for Jade because nobody deserves that. But at the same time, I couldn't help thinking we'd all seen the signs that Brandon wasn't a good person. Jade moved back into my mom's house, a complete mess. She cried all the time, didn't go to work, basically stayed in pajamas all day watching Netflix and eating ice cream. My mom consoled her, cooked for her, did everything for her, which I understand because she's her daughter and she was going through something horrible. I also tried to be there for her. I called her several times, invited her to lunch, tried to be a good sister, but Jade barely talked to me, like she'd respond with monosyllables or simply ignore my messages. Months went by, and I kept planning my wedding. By November, we had almost everything ready. We'd sent the invitations, confirmed the catering, the photographer, the music, everything. There were like 2 months left, and I was super excited, although also stressed because planning a wedding is exhausting, no matter how much you try to keep it simple. And then my mom calls me on a Saturday afternoon. She tells me she needs to talk to me about something important. I thought maybe she wanted to help me with something for the wedding, or that she had some idea to improve something. I don't know. But no, what she told me was this, and I swear I remember it word for word because I was in shock. She said, "Isabella, I need you to cancel the wedding, or at least postpone it until next year." I asked why. Obviously, because what kind of question is that? And she responded, "It's just that Jade is still very sensitive about the whole divorce thing, and having to go to your wedding and see you happy is going to be too much for her. It's going to be like rubbing it in her face that her marriage failed." I sat there in my living room, with the phone in my hand, thinking, is this real? Is my mom really asking me to cancel my wedding because my sister can't deal with her own decisions? I told her no, that obviously I wasn't going to cancel my wedding, that we'd been planning for months, that we'd spent thousands of dollars, that we'd already sent the invitations. My mom got angry, told me I was being selfish, that I didn't care about my sister's feelings, that I'd always been the cold daughter who only thought about herself. That hurt, I'm not gonna lie. My mom had never talked to me like that. I told her I was sorry Jade was going through a difficult time, but that didn't mean I had to put my life on hold. She insisted that I at least scale down the wedding, make it smaller, more discreet, not post anything on social media, basically make it invisible so Jade wouldn't feel bad. I said no, that this was my wedding, and I was going to celebrate it however I wanted. My mom hung up the phone angry. I thought that was the end of the discussion, that my mom was going to calm down and everything would go back to normal. But no. A few days later, I started getting calls from relatives. My cousin Lisa called to ask me if it was true that I was being insensitive to Jade and that I was like flaunting my wedding in her face. My Aunt Catherine, my dad's sister, also called confused because she'd heard I was being cruel to my sister. Turns out Jade had been calling everyone, crying, telling them I was doing all this on purpose to hurt her, that I was posting pictures of my wedding dress on Facebook just to make her feel bad. that I'd sent the invitations knowing she would be devastated. And the worst part is that none of that was true. I'd posted like 2 wedding-related photos in the last few months, and one of them didn't even show the dress. It was just of the venue. I wasn't flaunting anything. I was just sharing my happiness with my friends and family, like any normal person would. But Jade had twisted everything, had created this narrative where I was the villain who was torturing her on purpose. I had to call every person who contacted me to explain the truth, to tell them that, no, I wasn't being cruel. I was just living my life. Some believed me. Others acted uncomfortable like they didn't want to get involved in the drama. My Aunt Catherine was the only one who supported me completely from the beginning. She told me this was ridiculous and that I shouldn't feel guilty for being happy. The weeks before Christmas were horrible. My mom kept pressuring me, sending me long messages about how much Jade was suffering, about how I was her older sister and should protect her, about how my dad would be disappointed in me if he knew how selfish I was being. That last one really destroyed me because my dad was always the most understanding and loving person in the world, and knowing my mom was using his memory to manipulate me made me feel physically sick. Christmas dinner came. We normally have a big one at my mom's house with the whole family, like 20 people or more. I didn't want to go, honestly, but Ethan convinced me to at least try, that maybe in person things would be different. We went, and from the moment we walked in, I could feel the tension. Jade was there, sitting on the couch with red eyes like she'd been crying, and my mom immediately came toward me with that face like, "You're going to fix this now." Dinner was awkward. Jade wouldn't talk to me. My mom was giving me looks, and I just tried to focus on my food and conversations with other relatives who weren't involved in the drama. But after dinner, when we were in the living room opening gifts, Jade finally exploded. She told me in front of everyone that I was selfish, that I didn't care about anyone but myself, that I was rubbing my happiness in her face when she was going through the worst moment of her life. And I, who had been holding all this in for months, just couldn't anymore. I told her I wasn't to blame for her marrying an idiot after knowing him for 3 months. I told her I wasn't responsible for her bad decisions, and that I wasn't going to cancel or change my wedding because she couldn't handle her emotions. I told her she'd been manipulative for months, lying to the family about me, trying to make me feel guilty for something I didn't do. My mom immediately jumped to Jade's defense, yelled at me to get out of her house. How dare I talk to my sister like that when she was vulnerable? Robert tried to calm the situation, but my mom wouldn't let him speak. Ethan and I left, and as we were leaving, I could hear Jade crying dramatically inside. In the car on the way home, I cried. Not because I felt bad about what I said, but because I realized my relationship with my mom would probably never be the same. Ethan hugged me and told me I'd done the right thing, that I couldn't let them keep manipulating me like that. That night, when we got home, I sat at the computer and wrote a long email. I sent it to my mom and Jade, copying Robert too. In the email, I basically told them that after thinking a lot about everything that had happened, I'd decided they were no longer invited to my wedding. I explained that I couldn't have people at my special day who had spent months trying to sabotage it, who had tried to make me feel guilty for being happy, who had lied about me to the family. I told them I loved them, but that I needed to protect my mental peace and my happiness, and that having them there would only cause more drama. I wished them the best and told them I hoped someday we could fix our relationship, but that for now I needed space. My mom responded with an even longer email, full of accusations, telling me I was a terrible daughter, that I was breaking up the family, that I was going to regret this. Jade didn't respond by email but started sending horrible text messages, calling me everything. I blocked her number after the 5th message because I couldn't keep reading those things. And then, like 2 weeks before the wedding, Lisa called to tell me something super disturbing. Turns out Jade had been trying to contact Ethan. She'd sent him messages on Instagram, on Facebook. She'd even gotten his phone number somehow. The messages were, and this is the most disgusting part, basically attempts to seduce him. She was saying things like he deserved to be with someone who really appreciated him, that I was cold and selfish, that she could make him happier, that if he canceled the wedding, she'd be there for him. When Ethan showed me the messages, because, obviously, he showed them to me right away, I couldn't believe it. Jade had reached a level of manipulation I didn't even think was possible. Ethan blocked her from everything and we saved screenshots of the messages, just in case we needed them later. At that moment, I realized I'd made the right decision, uninviting them from the wedding, because clearly, they were capable of anything. The week before the wedding, I hired extra security for the venue. I explained the situation to the venue coordinator and gave him photos of my mom and Jade, telling him under no circumstances could they enter. The coordinator was super understanding, said, unfortunately, this type of family drama was more common than people thought, and that he would make sure everything was under control. The wedding day came. It was a Saturday in January. The day was perfect, sunny, but not too hot. I woke up excited and nervous, but above all, happy. Nicole was with me all morning, helping me get ready, making me laugh, making sure I was calm. Lisa was there too, and my Aunt Catherine, the three women who had really supported me through this whole mess. We were at the venue, almost ready for me to walk down the aisle, when one of the security guards came to let me know my mom and Jade had arrived. They tried to enter through the main door, acting like nothing had happened, like they were still invited. The guard explained they weren't on the list, but they insisted. My mom started crying and saying she was the mother of the bride. How could they not let her in? The venue coordinator handled everything professionally. He explained to them the event was private and they couldn't enter without an invitation. My mom started screaming, Jade too, causing a scene in the parking lot. They had to call the police because they refused to leave. From inside, I could hear part of the commotion, and Nicole told me not to worry, that everything was under control. Finally, the police arrived and escorted my mom and Jade off the property. They weren't arrested or anything like that. They were just told they had to leave or face charges for disturbing the peace. They left, but according to Lisa, who was outside, Jade screamed that I was going to regret this, that she would make sure to ruin my marriage, super dramatic and intense things. And after all that chaos, I had my wedding. And it was perfect. I walked down the aisle with Robert, who had agreed to do it when my mom and I stopped talking. It was a beautiful gesture on his part, because I know he was in a super uncomfortable position between his wife and his stepdaughter. Ethan was there, waiting for me with the biggest smile in the world, and when we looked into each other's eyes, everything else disappeared. The ceremony was beautiful. The readings we chose were perfect. And when we said our vows, I cried because finally, after so much drama, I was marrying the love of my life. The reception was incredible. We danced, laughed, ate delicious food, and every person who was there genuinely was happy for us. Not having my mom and Jade there, honestly, made everything better. There was no tension, no drama, just pure happiness. Nicole gave a beautiful speech as my maid of honor. My Aunt Catherine also spoke and mentioned my dad in a way that made me cry, but in a good way. And even Robert stood up to say a few words about how proud he was of me and how he'd watched me grow up. The honeymoon was perfect. We went to Greece for 2 weeks. I barely checked my phone, only to upload some photos to Instagram because, honestly, I wanted to show the world how happy I was. And yes, maybe part of me did it knowing Jade would see it, but honestly, I didn't care anymore. When we got back, Lisa told me what had happened while we were gone. Turns out my mom and Jade had a huge fight. According to Lisa, my mom finally realized Jade had been manipulating her too, playing the victim constantly, using the divorce as an excuse to control everyone. Apparently, Jade demanded my mom stop talking to me forever, that she choose between the two of us, and my mom finally told her enough was enough, that Jade needed to grow up and accept that I had my own life. The fight was so big that my mom asked Jade to move out. Jade went to live with a friend. I think. I don't know exactly where, because honestly, I don't care anymore. My mom has sent me some messages trying to apologize, saying she didn't know things were so bad, that Jade had manipulated her too. I haven't responded yet because I need more time, and because part of me is still angry that my mom allowed all this to go so far. Now it's been like 3 months since the wedding. Ethan and I are super happy in our new apartment. We're planning to adopt a dog soon, and basically just enjoying being married. My Aunt Catherine comes to visit often, Lisa too, and I have a better relationship with Robert now than I've had in years, which is ironic considering he's the stepfather who, technically, should be giving me the cold shoulder for uninviting his daughter from my wedding. Do I feel bad about how things turned out? Honestly, not as much as I thought I would. Part of me feels sorry for Jade, because clearly she has issues she needs to work on, but that's not my responsibility to fix. And my mom, well, maybe someday we can rebuild something, but it's going to take a lot of time and she's going to have to accept that what she did was wrong, that she allowed favoritism toward Jade to destroy our relationship. For now, I'm at peace with my decisions. I protected my happiness, set boundaries, and didn't let anyone, not even my own family, ruin one of the most important days of my life. And that, I guess, is enough.